Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Election 2010 shockwaves continue to reverberate. I'm Matt Barber, Director of Cultural Affairs at Liberty Counsel and Associate Dean with Liberty University School of Law, and for Matt Staver today. And joining me on the line is Matt Krause, Litigation Counsel with Liberty Counsel. Matt, we talked yesterday about some of the races that have really been at the forefront in the mainstream media. Obviously, both the Republican establishment and Democrats and liberals and conservatives alike, it was really jaw-dropping to see what happened with the House taking more than 60 seats in the House of Representatives, returning power to the other side of the aisle, the GOP. There were a number of pickups in the Senate with Republicans narrowing the margin of power within between the parties in the Senate. But something you don't hear a lot of people talking about are really the races, the state house races, the state senators, and the gubernatorial races across the country. And I think as powerful a message as the grassroots sent with the United States House and the Senate, I think they sent as strong, if not a stronger message with the number of governors that were elected and the number of state house and senators that were elected across the country. There were, Matt, Republicans picked up 7 governorships across the country. Democrats lost 8. Right now, the balance of power, I believe, is 15 Democrat governors to 27 Republican governors. Tell us about what kind of the ramifications that has on the 2012 presidential election.
Well, I think it's huge. Anytime you can have the top executive of a state use his or her bully pulpit to advocate for a certain candidate, I think that helps, with appearances, with money, with fundraising, different things. But it's not only that we have the numbers, but it's the makeup of who won. Susana Martinez in New Mexico, the first Hispanic woman to be a governor of a state. Nikki Haley out in South Carolina. I mean, we're not seeing the cookie cutter, old white Protestant male governors win. We're seeing a whole colorful array of people coming into these governorships, and that could have a huge effect on 2012. And also the redistricting that takes place this year after the census comes out. Many of those governors get to direct where those lines will be drawn, which could implement and further solidify Republican majorities for at least the next 10 years.
Very good analysis, and certainly you hit on a great point here. Apparently Gahn is the face of the old white middle class Republican country club guy, and there is a new face on the Republican Party, certainly in the state house and in Congress as well. I know there were a number of African American Republican congressmen elected. And,
That's right.
and that is huge. And, so the Republican Party, and again, Liberty Counsel, we are bipartisan, but certainly you can't help but notice there is a new face on the Republican Party, and it's a face that looks more like America. I think we're seeing more and more that it's not so much a fidelity to the Republican Party per se, as it is we see, the Hispanic community, for instance, the African American community, for instance. They, across the board, when you poll them, they share the values of the Reagan conservative in terms of the social values, protecting the institution of marriage, protecting innocent human life. And I think we see, the numbers increasing where Hispanics, where African Americans are voting those conservative principles that they have and that they hold near and dear. And certainly, as you point out, in New Mexico, the first female elected as governor in New Mexico, let alone the first Hispanic female elected as governor. I think that has really helped to dispel this myth that a conservative is just this country club white guy.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, and as you said, not just the state houses, but federal Marco Rubio, I think, is a rising star like no other. Comes from Cuban immigrants up to the place of prominence he now holds, Allen West down there in Florida as well. So it's just been, it was a great night for Republicans last week. And I think even though we're nonpartisan, we're pro-principle. And we saw a lot of candidates who share the principles and values that Liberty Counsel seeks to uphold through the legislative halls and the courtrooms. We saw those people put into office, and we can only hope that means good things for our country.
Well, you're absolutely right. It was a great night for conservative principles, and it was a great night for true racial and cultural diversity, not this notion of diversity that is invented by the secular left that focuses all of its attention, diversity being a euphemism for sexual anarchy. They apply that to the GLBT, gay, lesbian, no longer really focusing on racial diversity, but focusing on diversity of sexual perversion. So we see here true diversity at play. And among conservatives, and almost universally, those minorities who were elected are ideological conservatives, and that is very encouraging to me. Now, you mentioned Marco Rubio. He gave a tremendous, stirring acceptance speech, victory speech, and he made it very clear, I think, as did Rand Paul in Kentucky, the new senator from Kentucky. They both made it very clear that they are going to be holding establishment Republicans accountable to the promises that they have made, that this, again, is not a rubber stamp. This is not affirmation by the grassroots of the American people. This is not about the Republican Party as having a winning message here as much as it is the grassroots rejecting the agenda of Barack Obama. I hope that the establishment GOP will listen to Marco Rubio and Rand Paul and others of these Tea Party movement that really represent the grassroots in taking and applying their agenda. What do you think is going to happen in that regard?
I think you're exactly right. A lot of the media are focusing right now on the Tea Party's ineffectiveness in Christine O'Donnell, Sharon Angle, possibly Joe Miller. But, we still have Ron Johnson out in Wisconsin, Rand Paul in Kentucky, Marco Rubio, possibly Ken Buck in Colorado. So the Tea Party has had some effect. But I think its major impact is going to be the next 2 years, the next 4 years, as these grassroots people really hold their leaders accountable. This was just the first shot across the bow. Now the Tea Party really has to step up and hold these newly elected officials' feet to the fire. And if they don't do what they said they were going to do to buck the establishment and go against the conventional wisdom, we need to get them out in 2 years. So the Tea Party's real importance is right now for the next 2 to 4 years.
And I'm already a little bit concerned. We saw Scott Rasmussen had an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal. Dick Morris had an opinion piece recently in the Hill, where they were essentially trying to define the Tea Party as really having no interest in social issues, but merely focusing on fiscal issues. I had a response article in the Washington Times recently where I basically said, no, they need to understand that the Tea Party is about true Reagan conservatism, all three legs of the Reagan's three-legged stool. It's important that the Republican Party understand that the American people expect them to govern as conservatives from a social standpoint, a fiscal standpoint, absolutely, as Obama is taking us into neo-Marxism, and certainly from a national defense standpoint. Quickly, we're just about out of time, but your thoughts on the Tea Party? Have they been mischaracterizing what the Tea Party stands for?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's to our country's great detriment if we just focus on the economic issues. Those happen to be in the forefront right now, but without a solid nuclear family, without good moral guiding principles to guide our policies and our politicians, the economy could be incredible, but our country would still be morally failing. So I think we have to keep the social principles along with the economic principles, and it's to a great detriment to discount the Tea Party's influence and place of importance on those social issues.
Well, folks, Liberty Counsel will be holding the conservative movement in Congress and elsewhere. We will be holding their feet to the fire. We know that you will as well. Go to lc.org to learn more about Liberty Counsel, or give us a call at 1-800-671-1776. Become part of the Liberty Counsel team today.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.